What?
Oh, there's going to be an echo from my.
I don't hear an echo. Are you hearing an echo?
All right, I know what to do.
All right. Hello, Facebook world, YouTube land, and Instagram fam. We are live while Trent's working on something here. Don't know what. So we just pretend like we know what he's doing, and I don't have a clue. Anyway, welcome to another episode of The Other Side. This is where we talk to people that are behind the front man or front woman, behind the singer, and they just don't get enough recognition. So we want to highlight them as well. Last week we had a drummer. This week we have, keeping on the same team, we have Ryan's bass player, Trent Hollingsworth.
How's it going?
Welcome, Trent. Glad to have you.
Glad to be here. It's going to be fun.
Oh, yeah. We want to hear from different perspectives around the music industry of, what everybody else does. It seems like people just focus on the singer and like they're the only ones. And well, we all know that's not true.
Yeah.
So it's a whole team behind them.
Exactly. It takes a village.
But to run a family, an army, is that what that saying is?
Yeah, it takes a village. Yeah, to run a family, it takes a village. So I have determined it is the same thing in music.
Yep.
Yeah, the artist cannot do it alone. And I'm quickly learning that there is so much involved.
Yes.
And it's not a quick process, any of it. So we want to hear everything that you can tell us about whatever you want to tell us. I don't know. Anything. We'll figure out questions to ask as we go. And if we do have some viewers on live. If viewers want to ask questions, just put it in the comment down there. I'll see it.
The viewers? Oh.
Huh?
I didn't know you could see the viewers.
Well, I can't see them, but if they comment, I can see their comments.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
But I can see how many people are watching right now.
You got to show me that later.
Yeah.
Okay.
I will. I will continue to teach Kat how this thing works later. Yes. So anyway, since Trent, you're not getting to go out on the road playing, shows out. I know Ryan had like a tour scheduled this summer. Y'all were supposed to go out and play, but you're not doing that now. And then because of, COVID and everything that's happened, and even though he's getting a show here and there, they're not allowing full bands.
No, they're not.
So what have you been doing to keep yourself busy during all this time?
A lot of songwriting. And like I write with a few different people here in town. And one of the big things that I've been doing to keep busy is songwriting and demo work, recording, just to, keep the creative stuff going, because I feel like I'm going to lose my mind if I don't do it. I'm going to be probably screaming in the street and they'll, have to come take me away. This is the only thing at this point keeping me sane.
Well, hopefully that doesn't happen.
Well, I make no guarantees.
Well, I had no idea that you wrote music. I didn't know that you were a songwriter. That's cool.
Yeah. So I've been writing music for years and years since I started playing, and I started playing when I was 10. And background on that, my dad's a bass player. So we had instruments in the house, and guitars, drums, bass, everything that I could really want, keyboards, stuff like that. So I got into it at a pretty young age, just because my dad was in a blues band, and he rehearsed in our living room, or what was the family room, I should say. Houses have the living room and the family room. Our family room was a music room.
All right.
So 2 times a week, my mom would have to vacate the house because it was real loud. And me, 3 and 4 years old, would be crawling through the practices.
Oh, yeah.
Just mind blown because, loud sounds and people making them with things.
Oh,
Of course,
yeah.
at that age, I wasn't really old enough to necessarily understand what everything was, but I knew that I liked it.
Yeah. What was the first instrument that you learned to play?
Bass, actually.
Oh,
It
okay.
was bass, yeah. Bass was the first instrument. Back when I was younger, my dad used to get Bass Player magazine delivered to the house all the time. And I grew up kind of late 90s, early 2000s. So one of the big things then was listening to stuff like the Gorillaz, a lot of the kind of experimental like combinations of like alternative and hip hop. And I saw in Bass Player magazine they had a tab for Feel Good Inc. by the Gorillaz, and I didn't know how to read tab. I didn't know how to play, so I went up to my dad. I said, "Hey, how do I figure this out?" Because I really liked the song, and he showed me how to do it. So I spent the next 4 hours learning how to play it badly, but still learning how to play it. And then going up to him like, "Look what I did! Look what I did! I'm playing this song." And then it just snowballed from there. I spent about a year playing only bass. I took guitar lessons after that for about 3 years, violin lessons for a little bit, drum lessons for 8 months. I was in school band all throughout, middle school and high school, and playing upright bass and tuba.
Like bass, like that bass, like the
Yes.
cello bass.
Like upright,
Okay.
bow fiddle if you prefer.
Yeah.
But I grew up. I did that in school band, and then whenever we had pep band games for football stuff, I would play sousaphone, which is a marching tuba, the one that
Oh,
wraps
wow.
around your shoulder,
Yeah.
on the side, or whatever side it was. I think it was this one, but yeah, that was my growing up.
Wow. That's cool. I envy anybody that can play any musical instrument because I can't play any of them. But especially when you play multiple instruments.
Yeah,
That's just fascinating to me.
Yeah, I feel like I just kind of wanted to learn everything I could about every part of being in a band.
Yeah.
So learning multiple instruments kind of helped me understand where maybe a drummer's headspace would be or a guitar player's headspace would be. So I was able to, weave in and out and be able to kind of coordinate things, especially when I was writing, because I don't work with live drums a lot of the time, and I can show that a little later on. And that's primarily because I don't have a place to record them.
Yeah.
So if I wanted to do stuff on the computer that actually sounded like a real drummer, it's kind of beneficial for me to know how a drummer would actually play it.
Yeah. Huh. Interesting. So, do you sing at all?
I do. I sing backup primarily. I don't really
Wow.
like singing. I don't like singing lead myself because I don't like being a front man. I'm actually not a fan of the attention. I'm really not.
Wow.
Yeah.
I prefer kind of standing in the background of the stage, playing my part, and then making sure everything that you don't see happens smoothly.
Yeah.
I get a much more satisfaction out of that rather than being on the front of the stage with everybody paying attention to me and then doing the whole mingling, talking to people afterwards.
Right.
It's just, that is a definite part of it. And, the front man has that job. That is the front man's job 100%.
Yeah.
I don't want to do it, and I'm not very good at it.
Yeah.
And see, I like hearing that perspective because it's so funny. I feel like when people are like, when they think of a musician, they automatically think of like a singer. And I'm like, no, that's not necessarily what a musician is. I'm not saying they're not, but like.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just, if I could live the rest of my life kind of doing the recording, playing on people's songs, playing live, and making sure everything in the background runs smoothly, I would much rather be someone like Lee Sklar, who is a bass player you probably don't know, but I guarantee you've heard play. For example, played on all of Carole King's recordings.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Played with Genesis. Or
Wow.
not Genesis. Played with Phil Collins solo stuff. So he was the bass player on all of that, like In the Air Tonight and the big hits.
Yeah.
He played with Toto for a while. He did stuff with Clint Black on the Countryside.
Wow.
Pretty cool.
You know, he's
Yeah.
played on, I think he has like 2,000 credits to his name.
What?
One of the most recorded bass
Jeez.
players of all time, but you don't necessarily know who he is.
Yeah.
I would much
That's
rather
so
do
cool.
Huh.
Wait, so
Yeah.
why did you pick bass instead of like guitar? Because bass is 4 strings, right?
Yes. So
Mhm.
I chose bass, I think, mainly because it was the thing I saw my dad play.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw my dad play guitar every now and again, but it wasn't like my dad can strum chords. He can't really do a bunch of fancy stuff. And so I saw him play bass in his band, and I just kind of liked that I like laying down in the low end and keeping a groove rather than the,
Yeah.
flying out in the front. Again, it comes back to me preferring to be kind of in the back.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
it's just so much fun. Also, as a bass player, I can subconsciously control everyone to do exactly what I want them to do.
That's so funny.
If I just play a slightly different note and everyone catches on to it, bam, they're doing it too.
We have a lot more power than people think, huh?
Yes, exactly. I can control the whole band.
It's like, who's the boss of the band right now?
Exactly.
That's hilarious.
That's funny. This is why Trent, if it hadn't been told to you already, I guess I'm like spilling the beans here, is the band leader.
I did know that. Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Just making sure I wasn't like
Nope. I
stealing
know.
Ryan's thunder there.
No, Grant and I have talked about it, about me doing the band leading stuff and then the production managing.
Yeah.
Again, it's my interest in the stuff in the background.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's everything that he just told me. Everything that you just said, he's told me about you. And he's like, that's why Trent makes the perfect leader. And I mean, that makes sense. That
I would say, I think the best thing that I have in that kind of job, and what really like lends itself well to me doing it, is because I know how to play a lot of the instruments, I generally know what everyone should be playing.
right.
Because I'm very weird and tend to learn every part that everybody plays. So I know
Overachiever.
a little bit, but then I can tell people if they're doing something incorrectly.
Yeah.
And firmly, but not rudely.
Yeah. Well, I like that. And I think that's very much appreciated in the band because, like you said, Ryan's focus is going to be him singing and making sure that the crowd is entertained.
Of course.
Whereas then you can make sure that the band is doing what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
So that can happen.
One of my biggest goals as somebody in a band leader, however you want to say it, is to make it so that when the band steps up to play the song, the singer feels like they're singing to a karaoke track. Like it's perfect. There's no flaws. They don't have to think about what's coming next because they know what it is. And then the band knows what it is and everything just locks together, and there's no worries. Because the less the singer has to think, the less the front man has to think about, the less the front man has to think about, what everyone else is doing, the more they can be entertaining to the crowd.
Yeah. Right.
So
that makes sense.
I think a lot of people don't realize too, like if it wasn't for the band, they'd be singing a cappella.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Like, so like the band is important and you gotta, the singer can't be like on stage, I don't know, performing with like 15,000 people and trying to be like, hey, bass player, like, let's go play the song. Like, no, I've never been to a show with that. So,
right. You tend to see that in pickup gigs a lot where a singer might be controlling everything. But when you actually form a solid group that you are consistently playing with, that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So like down on Broadway, you might see them because they're kind of like winging it. They don't have a set list. I feel like.
Yeah, a lot of them
playing for 4 hours, which is an insanely long time.
Well, here's the thing though, because I've done a lot of 4-hour gigs in my life, just because it's bar band stuff. I mean, I grew up doing that. So what my dad did was 4-hour gigs.
Yeah.
And we always, my dad's band had 8 set lists.
Wow.
They would play 4 sets a night. So 4 45-minute sets with a 15-minute break. And then the last set would, be an hour or longer, depending on crowd reaction. But they had 8 sets. and they would just pick one of the sets, depending on how the crowd was going, how they were feeling. But each set was lined out how they were going to go. Because the one thing my dad like taught me as a kid, and the thing that he doesn't like dead air between songs.
Right.
He thinks that, and one of the things that I learned kind of, there's a time for talking. Play 3 songs, and then you can take 5-10 minutes to talk to the crowd.
Yeah.
But those 3 songs, you don't want to spend 60 seconds in between songs with nothing going on. You're going to lose people's attention.
Right.
And I just grew up with that whole like, plan everything out at practice, get it 100% solid, so you're not thinking about what you're doing before you're going up on stage, even if that means you have to learn more songs than what you're playing for the night. Learn 8 sets. I mean, that's 8 hours worth of material. That the 8 sets, and pick a set, but stick to it after that.
Yeah, absolutely. Or at least, like, a lot of times what you hear at concerts that you don't hear on an album or a single song is that's when you guys get your chance to shine. You know, when it becomes a guitar solo or bass or drums or keyboards or whatever. I love it when I go to shows and the singer takes the time to introduce everybody to the band, you know, call you out by name, and then give you a chance to shine at what you do.
Right.
I love the individual solos.
I love those too. And I think those work really well on the 4-hour gigs. I will say, if it's like a showcase type of thing where you're playing 4 or 5 songs and getting off for the next person to come up and showcase their music, I would rather not see someone do that, because I think it's a bit of a waste of time. And that's talking from a like production standpoint. If you're playing a 4-hour gig, go ahead, introduce everyone. Those guys stood up there for 4 hours, you know, they deserve to shine. But if you're playing you know, a 45-minute showcase or less, even, get on, play, you know, make it the best that you can and get off. That's how I feel about it.
I would agree.
I always have this goal for everything that I've ever done, as far as like me leading a band and doing all that. My goal is always to make the person coming on after the band that I'm in nervous to get on. And I know that sounds like super like not cool, but what I mean by that is I just want to be the band to that good. That the next person's like, okay, we better match that.
Oh yeah. I totally agree with you there. I mean, not that you're saying anything bad about the upcoming band, but you're just setting the bar.
Exactly. You know, I have a high standard. Let's say.
Yeah,
as you should.
Yeah, definitely, as you should. There's nothing wrong with that. And especially as long as you've been playing, and that it runs in your family. Pretty sure your dad would probably be disappointed in you if you didn't do that.
Yeah, I think so. He's come to some of my shows back when I was younger and had some not so nice things to say to me about how it went.
Like, so he was pretty strict on you about how you played, and did he expect like perfection, or was he forgiving a little bit?
Not necessarily perfection, but what he didn't. One of the things my dad doesn't like is kind of someone acting really crazy on stage, but the music that they're playing does not match. And I guess a great example in the 80s, the band Rat.
Yeah, I remember them.
Like
the bass player, R-A-T, yes.
R-A-T-T.
R-A-T-T, yes.
Oh, there's 2 T's, sorry. I
yeah.
them up.
Rat, the bass player had these, you know, choreographed, scheduled like little kicks he would do on stage and stuff like that, except he couldn't play. So it's no longer cool to see somebody doing that, to my dad at least, if they can't play their instrument.
Oh, well, yeah.
So that's kind of like, you know, back in the day, me getting, you know, overexcited on stage and not playing very well, but still kind of moving crazy and all that.
Yeah, don't act cocky and like you're the world's best player if you can't back it up.
Exactly. Or well, you know, I would rather not see anyone do it at all, just because that's, you know, it's not cool.
Arrogant.
Can you lip sync like an instrument?
Yes.
Oh,
It depends on the venue. Something like a bar, that'd be pretty difficult to do. But
Yeah.
in large venues, yeah, that's 100% possible. In fact,
Dad.
every Super Bowl performance is mimed.
Wow. So what?
Mhm.
The track is playing, and you're just pretending like you're playing,
So
And
every
they're not
band-
live, like the singers and stuff.
or are they actually playing so they don't screw up? The guitar's just not like plugged into an amp or something.
they might be actually playing along with it, but what you're hearing in your ears is not the sound that band is making at that specific moment.
Yeah,
That's
I kind of figured
it
that.
could be like a recording that they just play.
Yeah, so they play to a recording and the band's there for the visual aspect. But the reason they do that is because they've got millions of dollars into those Super Bowl performances, and they can't afford to have any mistakes because there isn't a second chance.
I mean, that's fair.
You know, and a great example was the Red Hot Chili Peppers came under fire a couple years back when they played the Super Bowl because they went up without their instruments plugged in, and they kind of did it. They did it on purpose.
Yeah.
Because, you know, they were like, well, we're not going to even just try to pretend that we're miming. They told us that we couldn't play live, so they went up without even being plugged in.
I mean, that's not the band's fault. You know, I feel like people would be like, oh, like, I'm not going to support this band. They were miming. I'm like, dude, it has nothing to do with them. Like, it's not their choice.
Yeah, they didn't choose to do it.
It's 100% the people paying the NFL, pretty much. But whoever's coordinating the halftime show,
But that's terrible that they want perfection so bad to the point that, I mean, that's half of the excitement of the Super Bowl is the halftime show.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're going to a Super Bowl now because I want to see something live.
I mean, yeah, music lovers they're gonna get hyped. Like, oh my God, I'm seeing so and so live. Well, no, you're not. You might be seeing them as a person live, but you're still not listening to them live.
So
people literally pay tons of money. I'm like, go see that person in concert. Like,
yes,
here's the sound of the Super Bowl. It's going to be more legit.
Exactly.
Well, and there are some singers that I don't care what people say. You probably know this to be true, Trent. There are some singers that have lip sync during concerts.
Oh yeah,
and you can tell.
Yeah, without a doubt.
There was quite a few different times that it's happened. Garth Brooks has done it.
I'm not surprised.
For example, he's done it, which I mean, to a certain extent, I don't really care. It depends on the artist, and it depends how long they've been doing it, and it depends on what the conditions are.
Yeah, didn't Garth do it to like save his voice some because he had like so many shows night after night after night after night? And wouldn't he sing? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, because I think I remember reading about this that he would actually sing some of the night and then lip sync like the rest of it.
Right. Yeah.
So he could sing a little bit for real each night.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Garth Brooks shows have gotten longer and longer with his own original music, and you know, and
that's a lot of work.
There are a lot less breaks when you're talking about doing 2 hours of 2.5 hours of original music, because a lot of the times I've seen those guys go up to 2.5 hours of original music, like the big artists, and they don't stop. They don't take a break in those 2.5 hours. It's not like a bar band where you can take 15 minutes.
Yeah.
But, you know, that being said, Broadway guys don't take breaks either because it's just not how it works there.
Yeah. So when you're just starting out or not well known yet, it's rough as crap on you.
Yes.
And then when you're big time, it's rough as crap on you still because there's such a high expectation of you.
Right. And I don't think a lot of people really realize kind of how much physical toll music in general has person. Like, you know, music takes such a physical toll if you're doing it night after night after night after night without break.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you've got to deal with hot stages. You have to be energetic for your performance. If you're in the lower level that I'm in, a lot of the time you're doing your load in and load out, which means a full PA system and sometimes more. You know, a 4-hour gig turns into an 8-hour workday.
That stuff is heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time, you basically have like 4 dudes who are doing all of it.
Got to figure it out. If something goes wrong, you got to set it up. Like if you're in a bar, they're gonna be like, "Well, you're SOL. I can't help you, kid." Like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it ends up, like I said, a 4-hour gig turns into an 8-hour workday, and that doesn't include travel time.
Exactly. So yeah, it's not all flowers and rainbows out there. It's
rainbows and butterflies.
Yeah. I was trying to think what the saying was. It's a lot of hard work that you guys put in. And, a lot of work before and after the show just to be able to put that show on.
Yeah. Exactly. And let me tell you, after doing a 4-hour bar gig, going and looking at the mess of cables that you now have to wrap up and the at least probably like 75 pounds of speaker per speaker that you have to like carry out into the trailer. Yeah. And you just played 4 hours and set everything up beforehand, and you're tired because you basically got there and as soon as you were done setting up, started playing.
Yeah.
And you're just looking at it like, God, I really do not want to do this.
People get the wrong ideas of like what they think like music is. And that doesn't mean like, and I mean, I'm not a musician, like that's not like how I make a living, but like I understand a little bit. Like it's not saying it's not fun, but I'm like, it's not just what you see on stage, people. Like,
no, there is a lot more to it than that. And
you don't have a sleep schedule, you don't have an eating schedule. Like,
right. When I first moved to Nashville, I started playing with a group, and I was gone from here consistently. I was in town for like maybe 4 nights a month for like 6 months straight.
I'm not surprised.
And so I was working my rear end off, but I liked it. And I wouldn't have traded it for the world because this is what I moved here to do.
Right.
But when you're talking about doing that, you're sleeping for 3 hours a night, maybe.
Yeah.
And then you're eating once a day because you don't really have a lot of money to spare on food. Yeah. Because if you spend all the money that you're making on the road, you're not going to come back home with any. So I would pretty much, when I got to the venue, I would eat the free meal that they gave me. And that's what I would eat every day.
Yeah.
And
you have to pay rent for somewhere that you're not living.
Right. and I would start drink, like I would take any free alcohol they gave me just for the calories, like free beer just for the calories, just so I could keep going.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it's tour life, I would imagine, can be rough until you get to a certain level
in your career.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. Unless you just came from money and you're doing this with, endless pockets, which I haven't ever heard of too many musicians that do that.
Yeah. Don't have trust funds. So,
yeah.
So
exactly.
I would say a lot of the things about it are, you're one, even if you do get enough sleep, you're sleeping in a moving vehicle, which is very strange.
Yeah.
I mean, it's actually easier to do in, say, like a passenger van than like an RV.
Oh, there's a difference?
Like a 15-passenger van, like what you see they use.
Like a church van.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or like a RV, which actually has like bunks.
Yeah.
Which I've done that too. And
that is easier.
Oh, the passenger van is far easier because you don't feel.
Really?
Yeah. Well, so the RV, those bunk beds, one, you feel like you're going to fall off of them.
I could see that.
While you're moving.
I mean, there's not like a seatbelt like on the bed.
Two, I'm an extremely paranoid person when other people are driving, so I can't sleep anyway. It's
your life is in someone else's hands and you're trying to sleep and trust them. Okay.
And I, usually pulling a trailer, and I don't know how much experience they have doing that. For context, I drove truck back in California where I grew up.
Yeah.
With my dad's company for years, and trailers are second nature to me.
Right.
It's because, and for more context, he grew up in the oil fields in Southern California. So that whole kind of trailer, blue collar stuff is what I'm very used to. And then I get into somewhere with somebody I don't really know that well, and they're pulling a trailer down the freeway and I'm trying to sleep.
Yeah. I mean, I could see that. I guess I've
Yeah.
never had any issue with it. I mean, my husband and I have been together for 17 years, and I have no trouble sleeping when he's driving.
But
It doesn't matter.
Come on.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what he's driving, truck, camper, pulling the camper. I could sleep anything. It doesn't matter. But I trust him. I know he's driving. So I get what you're saying. If you don't know somebody, that makes it a little bit different. Yeah.
Right.
It's not enough
I could see that.
to take away that anxiety or to knock you out. It's not.
Yeah.
And it's the biggest thing for me is like, I don't know what their background is, right? I don't know if they grew up in a city and had never driven a trailer in their entire life.
You need to start quizzing these people before they drive you around.
Like taking driver applications, like you need what's the license, the commercial license?
Like a CDL.
Yeah, like you need your CDL license, like.
Yeah. Show me a class A that you can drive a tractor trailer with air brakes and I'll be happy.
Yeah.
And even then I won't be that happy because I've seen those guys do some.
I mean, it's not like someone can just go up and fly a plane. So that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Granted.
Well, I'm glad you said just because you have a CDL doesn't mean you're that great. Because yeah. There was when my husband was in school, and it's funny because he drove like things that should have required a CDL for years before he ever had his CDLs. And then when he was in school, there was this guy in there that had never even drove a straight drive.
That's insane.
Right.
Never even drove a straight drive, and he's in truck driving school. And I'm like, what? I'm like, that should have been a prerequisite.
Right.
I realize now that so many of the tractor trailers are an automatic, but
they're getting that way.
Yeah, but still,
tractor automatic. Like
they're starting to become automatic.
Actual, like not stick shift, like actual, like the P on the Prindle automatic.
Yeah, so they're starting to become automatic because they've had some. This is so off topic on the music thing. But,
I
know. They started to have some changes in technology with transmission and power transfer. So they're able to make them automatic, but a lot of people hate them. But they're forced to drive them. A lot of people don't like them because being able to choose a gear that you are going to be in is so much easier if you need to put power down than being halfway between, hypothetically speaking, halfway between third gear and fourth gear. And so you're jumping down to third, going up to fourth, jumping down to third, going up to fourth because of the automatic. Also, the automatics are easier to put speed limiters on, and truck drivers hate that. And I understand that.
Yep, that's true too.
In California, if you have 3 axles or more, or you're towing, your speed limit has to be 55.
Okay.
That's the fastest that you can go. And there are companies there that will put a 55 mile per hour speed limit. What if someone is being stupid in front of you and you need to speed past them?
Ain't happening.
Nope.
Right. That's the problem.
Yeah.
People will try to speed if they have even if they're carrying a trailer, they're going to still try to speed because they think it's okay. And I'm like, you're carrying a trailer. You're not meant to drive that fast.
Right. I think the fastest that I got, so I hauled probably 20,000 pounds was about the weight that I carried every day with mine. And I think the fastest I had gotten up to one time going downhill and smoking brakes was 80 miles per hour. And this was coming down to Lake Tahoe from US Highway 50. And that was I barely stopped the line, saw the red light.
Yep.
I get stopped, brakes are smoking, everyone's looking at me. I go, sorry.
Oh Lord. All right. Yeah, we did get off topic. I don't even know how we got there, but we got there. Oh, because we were talking about sleeping or not sleeping when you're on the road.
It's a tangent.
I love where these conversations go. You're like, but it's still relevant.
Yeah.
It's still relevant to the fact that
people
don't know. I'm not saying I know what it's like to be a musician, but yeah.
When you're a musician and other people are driving you around with a trailer, regardless of the weight, you don't know if they know how to dodge other drivers.
You gotta be a very trustworthy person. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, but the thing is, a lot of times, it's not even your driver that you have to worry about. It's the other ones on the road, the other drivers around.
Exactly. Yeah. It's nerve-wracking, but hey,
Yeah.
I get through it.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's a good question. Trent, how did you meet Ryan? How long have you been playing together? DeLacy hug. I think that's a friend of Ryan. She's like a fan or something. I don't know.
Yep.
Yeah. So I met him through
Hey, Jess.
Nashville Gig Finder, which is a Facebook group for musicians here in Nashville.
Ooh.
There's a couple different Facebook groups that are specifically for people to find work.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And, actually, what had happened was another bass player in town had posted looking for a bass player for him. And he passed my information over to Ryan. Ryan got in contact with me. And then we met up. I had learned a couple of his tunes. We met up at his place and did a little jam session. And it kind of just went from there. And that was back in late January, early February.
Okay.
So about...
Oh, wow. I thought y'all had been friends longer than that for some reason.
No.
I haven't known him very long. It was right before all this stuff happened, basically.
Right before all this happened. Yeah. So it was pretty much right before the tour was supposed to happen.
Yeah.
And then we were getting prepped for that and it just fell through.
You're like, well.
And since then he's kind of been looking for people who want to stick out the music thing on the back end, the other musicians, but I've still stuck around because I like what he's doing, and I think it might have a chance to do something. So
Yeah.
I feel like it's a good choice for me right now.
And it's crazy how in this short amount of time, because I didn't realize it was January, that y'all have become so close. I mean, you're like brothers.
Right. Yeah. I think it's because we're very like-minded, at least when it comes to, the business side of things. So that makes it very easy to kind of get past that and do the friend thing.
Yeah.
super fast.
Yeah. And that's another thing that a lot of people don't realize. They see one side of an artist, only what's put out there in the public or what they see on stage when, you guys are playing.
Shoot, even what they see on social media.
Huh?
Shoot, even what they see on social media.
Yeah. And, you can't. I wish people would realize there's so much more to you guys than that.
Oh, yeah.
Than
Absolutely.
what you're able to portray on social media.
Yeah.
Because even that's like kind of governed a little bit.
At the end of the day, like on social media and on stage is still like filtered because you're still kind of working. I mean,
exactly. It's still filtered.
So much about you. Like you can act like people know who you really are, but like they really don't as a person.
Yeah, no. And I mean, that's why I love that sun is coming right in my eyeballs. I'm trying to move around here where it's not. But that's why I love doing what I am now, because, I get to know you guys on a different level. I'm not just seeing, artists that I look up to anymore. Well, I mean, I still look up to, but I'm also getting to know you. And, so I get to see things that the fans don't now. And it's crazy because I'm realizing how much as a fan, you really don't know.
You don't know it. You don't know diddly squat.
Yeah. And it kind of makes me feel bad because there's been times before when I've like criticized an artist or a band for this or that or whatever, and I will never do that again.
No.
It's funny because everything for the public pretty much is curated,
Yeah.
I mean, even as somebody who is not the forefront of the music that people are hearing, most of my public, social media things are curated.
Yeah.
Because I don't, I have my own sense of humor that may not agree with everyone else's sense of humor, whatever it may be. In my case, it's really not that bad, but you don't know how people might take things.
Yeah.
And so I tend to not keep that stuff public.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, there's a lot of things on your personal side that you have to keep private and keep it off of social media.
Right.
But one thing that I think is great about Ryan, and I don't know if the rest of you guys do it or not, is I know for a fact, so if any of his fans are listening, I know for a fact that he answers his own messages. He answers his fans. He talks to them. He wants that connection with them. I'm afraid of what's going to happen when he gets so many that he can't do that.
Yeah, it becomes a problem.
Especially if they've been following him from like, the beginning until,
Yeah.
Basically, the biggest thing that I'll criticize him for, if it ever comes to this, is if he ever does paid meet and greets, I'm going to tell him he's an asshole.
Yeah.
Why
would you charge somebody for human interaction?
Exactly.
They're expensive. The paid meet and greets are stupid. You get it?
Yes, I agree. I love that you said that, Trent. We'll make sure that doesn't happen.
You got more money than you have sense. You do not need my $100 that I slaved super hard for to get a picture with you. Like some little girl's dream and you're going to rip her off.
What you talking about $100?
I'm sorry.
Some of them are like $1,000.
Yeah, some of them are.
Yeah.
The whole thing for me is like, I 100% do not understand monetizing human interaction.
Yeah, no.
It really, like the paid meet and greets, it's like, I either meet your fans or don't.
Yeah.
Because if you're charging them to meet you, it just shows, at least to me, that you don't appreciate them.
Yeah.
Really.
I like that. I'm glad that you feel like that.
And
feel that way. I like that too.
That's just a big thing for me. Is like, yeah, just don't try to monetize human interaction.
Well, now, famous my favorite artist, one of my favorite artists of all times. He does charge for his meet and greets, but if you're a member of his fan club, you get like half off, and then it's like $25, and that's it.
So that's
$25. That's it. I could handle that. That's but
there's one artist that
$1,000. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. There's one artist that I like that does paid meet and greets, but they're in a different way, and I can understand the monetization in this fact, and that would be Zach Brown, because he'll do those. He'll do the meet and greets and have people pay for him, but he cooks for all of them.
What?
Really?
Yeah. So you have them come early, and like he'll just do a giant barbecue before the show.
That's so
cool.
Like a dream. Right. I get to have a barbecue with Zach Brown.
Right. And that's different though, because in that regard, you're paying for the food, you're paying for the meal, right? And it's different in that case. But if you're paying someone to just have the ability to come take a picture with you and talk to you for 5 seconds, I don't agree with that,
Yeah. Especially outrageous amounts.
The artist controls that, because I wonder if the artist could be like, hey, I want to stop charging my fans for meet and greets, if they had like a say so, because sometimes I feel like they don't. Is that, what do you know?
So I think there is to a degree an artist can say yes or no to that. Now, the record industry is a bit different than it was, say, even 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Because 20 years ago, basically a record company determined what everyone did.
Yep. That's what I was going to say.
If you signed a deal, they told you what to do. They told you.
It didn't matter if you liked it or not.
Right. And you were locked into it. But they told you what music to play, what to wear, how to act, so on and so forth.
That sounds awful. Why would you ever want a record deal?
Because back then, that's how it worked.
Oh, yeah.
That was the entire industry. But things are different now. And the reason things are different is because of YouTube, because of streaming platforms, because there are people who are getting deals now who have already established a fan base.
Yeah.
Back in the day, people signed a deal and nobody knew who they were.
Oh, yeah.
They didn't already have a fan base. But because people can establish fan bases without a record company now, they have a lot more say in what they get to do.
That's good.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing.
So,
well, Trent, we want to hear some of your work, some of your music. What are you going to share with us?
All right. Well, I'm going to share a couple projects with you.
Yeah.
We are going to start out with this one that I was working on. This is very unfinished. And I'm kind of walk through my process on this and kind of how it happens. Let me plug in here.
Awesome. Oh, Jess, thank you. I can't wait to see you either.
Where does she live?
She said, "Cool, thanks. Can't wait to see y'all on tour."
Yeah, it's gonna be fun once it comes around. I'm super excited.
Yeah, whenever it comes, we don't know.
All right, so let me close out of that real quick. So this is a tune that I started working on with a buddy of mine named Chase, and we were kind of going for this combination of country yet old school, like pop punk and stuff like that from back early 2000s. There's a guy here in town named Hardy who does it really well, and Hardy is friends with Morgan Wallen.
I love Hardy.
Yeah, Hardy's great. So
Mhm.
if you've heard his song Boots, this is very heavily inspired by that.
Uh-huh.
And I'm just going to go through this chorus section real quick, which is right here. So, and then I'll let you hear this and kind of work through. I'll show you what my process is kind of going around.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Around this entire process. So. So
that's cool.
That's really cool.
That is the chorus section. And what we'll start out with, whenever I'm writing music, I start out with drums first, almost always, because I'm a bit different than other people, but I really like starting out with kind of what I feel like is the basis of it. So I'll get kind of a drum beat down that I like in a tempo, and then we'll start putting chords to that. After I loop it around and then start building the song slowly. So the first thing we did is we started out with this drum sound, which let me go through here real quick. I'm going to turn a bunch of stuff off. Mute these. So this is what it started out as.
Ah, yes, that works.
Yeah, there it is.
You people.
Okay, so we're getting a little complex here. We're getting into the more complexities of music making, but this is what it started out as. What I did is I started adding a few different elements to these sounds to get a bigger sound, a more produced final product, which is this. If I have anybody here who's interested in production, this is Drum Forge sampler. It's amazing, made by Joey Sturgis, Joel Wanasek, some guys who have been in kind of actually the metal production side of things for a long time, but they created this program, this plugin that you're able to choose drums from a wide variety and build your own drum sets to make sounds.
That's really cool.
So this is all digital.
Yeah.
This entire drum sound is a computer. There's not a real drummer in this. There was a real drummer who played the drum originally, and they created samples, and then I just programmed the samples out to do the beats that I want. And that's how this works.
Wow.
This is really cool because it comes with, as we start getting into these complexities, this screen, which looks kind of crazy.
Terrifying.
It's a bunch of EQ bands, clipping bands, reverbs, sends, stuff like that. So you get a lot of options through that. And then you've got the acoustic. Which is just heavily edited. I've also got this organ in here, which is a digital organ, another kind of computer-created sound through Cubase, which is my program here. So, and I just go through, double-click here, and I can write in these notes. You see a piano roll on this side.
Yeah.
And I can write in notes for what I want it to play.
Oh, wow.
That's super cool.
That is.
So the next thing that I added in when we were working on this was these guitars. Which are pretty cool sounding.
Yeah.
I'm using a program that gives me amps. So nothing in here, like all the tone that is coming from this is coming from the computer. I'm using this
crazy.
program here to give myself amp sounds for the guitar tone. You've got other things in here that just kind of add to that. And then I added in the bass, which is 3 tracks. And it's distorted because I wanted it to be. Make it sound aggressive. And that's got 3 things in it, you know, a couple things of like this plugin here, which is pretty cool. I've got Pod Farm, that amp plugin on the high one as well. Actually, you know what? That's not supposed to be like that. That's so much better.
That's so cool.
I know, right?
And then, you know, they get sent to their own buses here to be able to do it. So, and then after that, I can open up the mixer window and start mixing everything.
That is so cool.
Like it's a, you know, full-on program because like our full-on mixer board, like I could control it. And I just, you know, if I want these to go down, I can just go here and drag it down.
Oh my God, it's like a DJ.
Yeah, you're able to do that. And then, so this is something that I was working on. This doesn't have a whole lot in it yet. Just 2 choruses, 2 verses at the moment. But, you know, that one's a work in progress.
That is super cool. Now, Trent, when you write a song, do you mean that you write the lyrics and you write the music? Do you do both, or you just write music?
I'm primarily a music person. I'm not super great at writing lyrics. So I'll have other people that I write with are much better at it than I am. And this is a song that actually has lyrics in it. This is a sneak peek. This isn't out yet. So, but this is a very 80s inspired tune that a buddy of mine and I are doing. So I'm going to mute the vocals for now, just so we can get a vibe for this tune.
I love hearing just like the music because you don't really get to hear that very much.
Right. Yeah. So we'll go through kind of the parts of this and I'll tell you my process. This song was basically created because actually I started out writing music and then I met up with a buddy named Jabe of mine and he had lyrics already and we just fit them to this. But I was bored and felt like writing 80s songs. So I wrote some 80s songs. And
oh, yeah, very 80s vibe.
That's cool. I just want to go like...
So again, same program for the drums, same idea. You know, it's doing a very, very similar thing.
Yeah.
I've got a synth bass that I'm using. So we're going like full on 80s. Like so 80s, and I love it.
It's fun.
You know, a couple different things, like a couple little background noises, stuff like that.
Oh my gosh, so freaking cool!
You've got these guitar parts. You get to the chorus, and let me tell you, super 80s.
Oh my gosh.
That's so cool!
That sounds like Toto.
What is Toto?
I have something to show you after this because I have some stuff that Toto used.
Is that a band?
It's a band.
Yes. Africa by Toto?
No.
Oh, man. All right. Well,
I have to teach her music. I have to teach her some country music. She doesn't know some people.
Toto is not country. Isn't that rock and roll?
That's 100% 80s rock.
Yeah. You would probably recognize it if you heard it. Because, I mean, it was just too popular of a song.
They make a list. Y'all need to make a list. That check out. Well, no.
Oh, my God. There's too many.
More stuff that you have in this is just more like 80s guitars. And so you've got this whole, you know, layered build.
Yeah.
And I'll just go through this chorus real quick.
She called me baby.
That's so cool.
I love that.
You would really think that like the music, just hearing it, would be like one vibe, but then when you put the words with it, and it's a totally different vibe. But they work so great together, and you're like,
just to solo out these vocals real quick, we've got a bunch of layering going on. So every one of these takes that you see, that's a different take.
Oh wow!
Of the same thing. All the same thing done more than once.
That's so cool.
So you get this like.
She was born in the 1980s. I don't care if they call me crazy. She don't love me. I know she's fake. I like her when she call me baby.
You know, bunch of stuff, and then the delay is going.
Okay.
That is
really cool. And then, you know, we've got some vocal glitch stuff over here. Back into the chorus. Pretty cool tune. This one's been a lot of fun. So what I started with when I did this is I had made this Poly6 bass synth with a program called Serum, which I'll open up here. So X4 Records make this synth called Serum, which is this, and you can go ahead and change a bunch of these, you know, settings, the waveforms, to create different synth sounds. Back in the 80s, there was this really popular synth made by Korg called the Poly6, and it had this bass sound on it, which is this. So I recreated it with a newer software because I love that Poly6 sound.
Yeah.
And it's like such a defining 80s tone.
Definitely.
And so I just made that little line, you know, just a pulsing bass synth, and then added the drums to it. And then I was thinking, okay, so what can I do on a guitar to add to this? And so I grabbed the Telecaster sitting over here and thought of just 80s tones, like.
So that's actually playing. That's not computer generated.
Yes, the guitars are all me playing. Really simple stuff, but you know, there's just a ton of effects on them to make them sound more complex. And then, you know, I wanted to fill out the space more, so I added these little background stuff.
I want to learn how to do all that. That is super cool.
Is this like Audacity kind of?
Yeah, so Audacity is a much more simplified version of this.
Okay.
This is a program called Cubase, which is made by a company out of Germany called Steinberg. Okay. I've been using this since I started producing stuff, which was about 9 years ago at this point.
Nice. Okay.
And yeah, there's a guy in town back in Sacramento, California, who everyone recorded with, and he used Cubase. So one day when we were recording, I just watched everything he was doing and then figured out how I could get Cubase and started learning. And I've been doing it ever since.
That's wow. So now, do you produce for people, or do you just do this for fun?
So I was producing back home. I haven't done anything full production wise here in town. I do demo production for people though. So if they have a song that they want to get kind of a more polished version of, I'll have them come over and we'll track it.
Oh, okay.
Cool. Get a nice big full sound so that they can show it off to whoever it is they're going to show it off to. I think Cubase is about to crash.
Uh-oh. What? Huh?
That's fine. I'll fix that later.
Okay. Give me some drinks. Both kind of drinks.
I will fix that later. Okay, so we'll go into one more. And since we were talking about Toto, there's another really iconic 80s synth called the Yamaha DX7. And that was like really the sound of the 80s. It had a bunch of presets on it that just sounded killer.
Of the 80s hair, what is it, 80s hair band?
More like the 80s new wave pop type of stuff, kind of Tears for Fears, think Aha, stuff like that. Toto as well. So, the beginning of Toto, that there's those like that's the synth.
That's really cool.
So the DX7, this is another software called DexEd. This is a digital mimic of the Yamaha DX7, and people have made digital copies of the original cartridges that had the presets on them. And you can load them into this and use all of the original 80s presets. And I'm getting really nerdy right now, but this is the coolest thing.
Musicians are nerds, let me tell you. Like, their brains.
This is like just the ability, because I can add in that. I can add in, this is 100% legitimately the bass synth from Take On Me by Aha. And it's like, I have it right here. I've got that. I've got these guitar tones that I made that are basically a model of a Roland jazz chorus, which is the 80s guitar tone. And
that's super cool.
And have so much fun. I've got the 80s strings, which are, super, super 80s sounding. And that's also the 7. And it's just like,
that is super cool. The 80s will never die.
No, absolutely not. So this one's not finished either yet.
That is super cool. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I was a teenager in the 80s, so that is my music right there.
Right. And
there was no better generation of music.
All of my siblings were born in the 80s. So I heard a lot of stuff kind of carry over from when they were really young. My oldest sister she must be 38 now. And for context, anybody listening, I'm 25, born in 1994. I grew up with maybe more the grunge thing.
What the what?
Grunge, Nirvana, Alice in Chains, Soundgarden, so on and so forth. The West Coast grunge thing.
That's funny.
When 80s rock kind of slowed down a little bit and the next phase came in.
Right.
That was kind of that.
Yeah, exactly. And but I got a lot of that carryover of 80s tunes that were just super cool and used really, really interesting like musical choices that you just necessarily wouldn't hear in other things. So I always like to tell people one of the biggest inspirations for stuff like this for me is Tears for Fears, because they were so cool. I mean, such cool music.
I agree. And I was going to ask you that. What is your inspiration for, like when someone brings you lyrics,
right,
and says, "All right, let's put music to this." Where do you even start from? How does the songwriter have like an idea, or is that up to you?
Sometimes they'll have a chord progression and a melody already.
Yeah. And
that's a lot easier to work with. But the first thing I'll usually ask them is, okay, what kind of feeling do you want? Is this a happy song? Yeah. Is this a sad song? Is this an energetic song? Is this a party song? Is this angry song? Whatever, it doesn't really matter. What's the feeling of the song, and what a sound do you want to go for? Do you want to go for modern? Do you want to go for old school? Is it country? Is it more rock? Is it 80s? Is it is it metal? Whatever. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But I'll try to get a headspace on what kind of genre they want and what kind of feeling they want, and that allows me to get a better understanding of where I should go next. Because the thing that I'm trying to do is hear the final product in my head before I actually put it down onto the computer.
That's really cool.
So I need to get on the same page as whoever it is that brings me the song, and we need to get in the same headspace so that we're thinking the same. Yeah. Otherwise, what comes out is just going to sound like a jumbled mess, you know? And so I'll be sitting here figuring out, say, this song, right? And I already had a chord progression brought to me for this. And this is another one of the 80s project that I'm doing. And so my first goal was, okay, so I've got this chord progression. How am I going to make this feel a little more 80s? And so really one of the big first steps was for me to take these guitar parts and start giving that kind of like old school plucked 80s groove. And I thought, okay, that's cool. I need to beef those up a little bit. So I grabbed the steel drum from the DX7. When you add that to the guitars, it gets even more 80s sounding. Then I needed to come up with a bass line that's going to fit the song. And it's basically just a bunch of trial and error until you find the thing that really flows correctly. And so, if I'm going to produce something more old school, say we're talking, really old Bakersfield sound country, I'm going to do that in a much different way. I'm going to sit and try to get a group of musicians together and jam out the song live instead of doing it on the computer. Because, you can't do everything just this. It doesn't necessarily always give you the right feeling.
Right.
So what am I going to do when it comes to any of it? How am I going to go about achieving the sound that I want? If it's a really produced thing, I can sit here with one person and make that really produced sound. If it's really old school, I'm going to need a group of people together because you want it to flow naturally.
Yeah.
So, you can't write a Merle Haggard song on a computer. Got to do that with a group of people in a room. But you can 100% write an 80s song, or you could write one of the modern country songs on a computer. Yeah. And,
yeah, because there's a very distinctive difference in sound of old country versus today's country.
Right, exactly. And, one of the biggest things about that is that Nashville for a very long time has been trying to copy LA and not doing a very good job at it. Because, to be honest with you, LA has just been ahead of Nashville as far as production goes with the electronic stuff. And they always will be. LA will always be in front of Nashville for electronic production. It's just they're creating the things that Nashville's trying to do.
Yeah.
But there is a change happening in Nashville's music because of a few different artists. It's not so electronic anymore. It's not so produced pop song with, a kick and a snap track going the entire time. And it isn't just it's not Florida Georgia Line anymore. And I think they're the worst offenders of it. As far as the really Florida Georgia Line's the worst offenders of the super poppy country that is repetitive and basically has no substance to it.
Tell us how you really feel, Trent.
Well, and I don't mean that in a necessarily bad way, because those songs are good. They're not it's not a bad thing to have songs that don't have substance, that are face value party songs.
I get what you're saying, though.
But those aren't the songs that last, for years and years. I mean, look at LMFAO. They had, Sexy and I Know It and all that. Who listens to that anymore? Those were very shallow songs.
Mm-hmm.
I listened to it at a bar maybe once. I probably haven't heard it once all year, probably.
Exactly. Because I haven't heard it in years. But it's because those are shallow songs. There's not a lot of substance there.
That makes sense.
Right.
But there's a couple artists that are really changing that. Chris Stapleton's a great example.
We love him.
He's amazing.
He's amazing. But he's such a great example because he's doing the real instrument thing with the real production and going back to country. Another great example is John Party's most recent album with Heartache Medication.
Oh, that's a great song.
Because he's doing the same thing. He's going back to the old school Bakersfield sound. Now he's a California boy as well, if you didn't know that.
I didn't.
Yeah, he's from Dixon, California, which is about 45 minutes an hour to the west of Sacramento, where I grew up. And let me tell you, it is a farm town. we do have those.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, we do have farms and farm towns
yeah.
in
I was
California.
gonna say, who would have thought a farm in California?
Oh no, there's country in California too.
I mean, I know that, but a lot of people don't.
Yeah, a lot of people just automatically think big city and beaches, but
And mountains, north, and wine, and yeah.
oh yeah, wine. But I want country to go back a little bit.
So do I. You know,
Yeah.
my dad grew up in Taft, California, which was about, I'd say it's about an hour and a half to the west of Bakersfield.
Okay.
And he was born in 1954.
Yeah.
So the Bakersfield sound was what he heard growing up. He was also in the oil fields, and most of the people who were working in the oil fields weren't from California. You know, they were from Oklahoma, from the South.
Texas. Mhm.
Texas, you know. They were from the South and they were living in California because you could make money there.
Yep, absolutely.
And my grandpa owned the oil drilling company. So, you know,
Pretty cool.
you had this thing where my dad grew up around a lot of men from the South listening to country music.
Yeah.
And so I heard a lot of that. I mean, I watched Hee Haw with my dad growing up.
What is that? Is that a movie?
Oh
No,
my
TV
God.
show.
The sad thing is that I'm your age, Trent.
Oh man.
I'm dying here.
Yeehaw? I thought you said
Hee Haw. No, Hee Haw.
I don't know.
Heehaw.
Hee Haw.
That's not a word.
That is 100%
It is the name of a TV show. Look it up. YouTube it.
I've never used Andy Griffith, and he's from North Carolina.
Oh
Yeah. I did watch the Andy Griffith show with my dad a lot.
my God, that's another classic.
Was that in the 80s?
You children don't know what you missed out on not growing up in my
I
time.
was in the wrong situation, let me tell you.
Well, it's like I said, I watched Hee Haw, I watched the Marty Stewart show with my dad. So I was very exposed to country, and I feel like that's why I don't feel uncomfortable in Nashville whatsoever.
Yeah.
And also growing up not doing kind of a standard what you'd expect a California job to be.
Yeah.
You know. So anyway, God, watching all that and then listening to the West Coast stuff and all the British invasion music and the rock music my dad listened to. It's easy for me to get in the mindset depending on what I'm working on. So if I'm working on the 80s stuff, it's really easy for me to get in that mindset. If I'm working on like really classic country stuff, it's easy for me to get in that mindset.
Yeah.
Because I grew up listening to all of it. So it's really just when I'm doing the writing, we're going to circle back around. When I'm doing the writing and the music thing, all I'm looking for is what kind of sound am I going for? And then I pull that from my experience to create whatever it is that I'm trying to create.
That's so cool. I'm so envious of not just your talent for being able to physically play the instruments that you do, but then all this technical stuff.
That stuff's hard. You can't like really.
Exactly.
You gotta teach yourself.
Yeah.
That's crazy to me. It's just like, I don't know, blows my mind.
That's the funny thing too, is there's a lot of people who go to school for audio production.
Yeah.
And I would say that the biggest reason I don't like that is because school teaches you how to do something by a book, but audio production and music in general is more of an art form.
Yeah.
So there's not really a set of rules.
You just gotta figure it out till you try, or Google how to do it, or YouTube how to do it. There's plenty.
Here, let me share my screen.
So you learned everything that you have just by learning on your own, just playing with it and messing around. So you didn't go to school for this?
No, I didn't. So I just put my screen share back up. If you want to throw that on, I'm going to show everybody some things. This is called Nail the Mix. That's and cool. I canceled my membership because it's expensive. But it says right here, the world's best online recording school for rock and metal producers. Basically, what you get from this service, and this is done by the guys who made that DrumForge plugin I showed you, Joey Sturgis, Joel Want a Second, a guy named A.L. Levi. You get multi-tracks from real bands, so artists that people like. These are a lot of metal bands here that they're kind of talking about.
Yeah.
But I also have, from this same service, I have, in fact, you know what? I do know I can log in here and show you something. Guy named Billy Decker here in Nashville did one of these Nail the Mix things where he showed off how he goes about mixing songs. So what you get is you get a song from a real artist. You get a song from a real artist. You get a video. You get all the multi-tracks to mix them yourself. And then you also get, and this is the biggest thing, at the end of the month on each of them, you get to sit down and watch the original producer mix it.
That's so
Oh, wow.
Live. So I don't know where my Nail the Mix stuff is. Hold on.
That is so freaking amazing. Like, you can almost find anything on the internet anymore, which I don't want to say this too loud. I want my son to go off to college, but I mean, he can't learn what he wants to learn on the internet.
Right.
But if you want to go into this type of field or, something digital, there's so much on the internet that you can basically teach yourself.
Yep.
Right. This is another one. This is a magazine called Sound on Sound, and they have a lot of great articles on audio production.
Mm-hmm.
It's another resource that I've used to learn. That's a song that I was listening to. Okay, so if we go through and we go to Nail the Mix for URM Academy, you have all these videos. These are all about audio production. There are a few other resources that I've used and a few other people, but essentially you have a lot of resources here. I mean, these are 3 different ones, for going about learning how to do this. And, a lot of this stuff, when you look in like URM, Nail the Mix, all that, a lot of it's going to be oriented towards metal because the producers who originally did it are metal guys. They're metal producers. They have made their name off of producing big, heavy music with screaming and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that the knowledge on how to do the audio production doesn't apply to everything. And that also doesn't necessarily mean that that they're not into other types of music. I mean, Joey Sturgis, the owner of all this.
Oh,
it's fine. Nope. I'm done.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
It's trying to make you bigger instead of the
Joey Sturgis, the guy who owns it all, got Billy Decker, who mixed Rodney Atkins' These Are My People. And that's the song that he did on the live stream. And you get all of that. You get all of those resources to mix any kind of music. And it's pretty killer, I mean,
yeah.
I went to school for about a year just doing my general education stuff in community college. Realized that I hated it, quit. Went to work for the family
like so
business.
many.
Went to work for the family business and then decided to move to Nashville.
Well, I think you made the right move. I mean, you're definitely talented without a doubt. I had no idea that you did all this other stuff. So we're going to have to, because we have been on here for almost 2 hours.
Yeah.
Time flies. But we're going to have you back on to talk more about the production end of things.
Sure.
Because it is super fascinating to me. And I'm sure that a lot of other people would like to have you dig in a little bit deeper.
Sure.
Because I feel like you've just barely scratched the surface of it with us.
Oh yeah. I mean, I can go into full detail on how to even achieve, how would you achieve a sound from a certain song,
Yeah.
If you want to know how to make that 80s drum sound.
Yeah.
It's
See, I would love to do that. So we're gonna have to definitely set you up again to come back on and talk about that end of things. So if there's, and we'll super advertise it before in case there's some, other media geeky people like us out there that want to know all this stuff. And I'm just fascinated from like the music end, how you achieve exactly what you just said, how you achieve those certain sounds.
Mm-hmm.
right.
And so I want to know, and I'm sure there are other inquiring minds that want to know as well.
Hell, we'll just write a song on stream. How about that?
Yeah, let's do that. It's so much fun. I don't usually like the technical end of stuff, but of making music, that's different.
Right. And you're so passionate about it. Like, you're so good at it. So it's always fun to like.
I know, right? He is. I'm like, I don't know if you like this better or playing better.
It's a toss up. I think that's why I still do both of them.
Yeah.
It's all so much fun because it's all related to the same thing.
Yeah. Well, now sometimes I will ask the singer-songwriters, if you were forced to make a choice, if you could only sing or only write music.
Yeah.
So I'd love to hear what their answers are on that. So I'm going to twist that a little bit for you. If you could only play the bass or do production.
Play bass. It's a really easy choice because there is a certain rush, and I'll even call it a high that you get from playing music live on stage.
Oh yeah.
Being a musician and doing it live is like being an addict, at least for me.
I could see that.
I've heard that before.
To where you get a rush from everything working out perfectly, and you spend your entire life trying to top that.
Yeah.
And every time you do, you have to top it again, and then you have to top it again, and then you have to top it again. It's not in, and it's like anything you might be addicted to. You're always trying to make it feel like the first time.
Yeah. Thank you hang on one second. Thank you so much, Jessica. I don't know if you're still here or not. You wrote this, just like literally a minute ago. She said, definitely, I've enjoyed this. Thanks, guys. Have a great night.
Yay.
Thank you so much, Jessica, for hanging out with us all this time. I know this is like the longest interview that we've had on here, but like I didn't even realize till I just looked up at the time how long we had been going.
Also, my computer might die, so if I peace out, that's why.
Yeah, I'm surprised the phone hadn't died yet. But it's been so much fun. I didn't realize that much time had went by. And when I looked up I was like, oh, uh-oh.
Yeah, it's been about an hour and 22 minutes, it says up there.
But it's been entertaining. Oh, that's right. I usually start my shows like on the hour. That's why I thought 2 hours. So yeah, only an hour and a half. Okay, that's not as long as I thought. But still, if I had been bored by it, I would have been like, trying to send messages like,
well,
I'm done.
glad I didn't bore you.
No, I was like, yeah. So it's very interesting to me. I'm glad that Jessica chimed in and said it was to her as well.
Yeah,
and that
I'm glad.
we had, that because usually how these Facebook lives are and Instagram lives, you don't usually have a lot of viewers live. They usually watch afterwards.
Right. Well, especially when I'm sitting here talking about audio production, which is a very nerdy aspect, like a nerdy part of music that is like basically this chair I'm sitting in, I sit in for like 8 hours and work on a song.
Oh yeah. But you would be surprised at how many people besides you are interested in the very same thing.
Right. Well, hey, if they are, then I'm glad to show it off.
But that is exactly why I wanted to do this show. Because I see how excited you are talking about this and telling us about it, that, I wanted you to be able to have that platform to do it on.
Well, I appreciate it.
And I love it. So yeah, I'm so glad that I asked you to come on. I mean, of course I had to start with our own team first, and
Of course.
get everybody from there on. And then I'll venture out to other people. But yeah, I'm glad that I decided to do this show. I've thought about it for a long time, and I just never pulled the trigger on it until last week for some reason with Brian.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I'm super glad that I did it, because I love seeing all these other avenues of the music industry and what goes on. And I think the people need to hear about it too, because basically what they know about or what they hear is the artist, on the radio or, on Spotify or whatever. And of course they realize there's a band behind him. There's all these other people that are involved, but they just don't usually get to see that person or hear from that person, especially how we've done today. So I really enjoyed it. And we're going to schedule for you to come back so we can dive into it more. And we're just going to do a whole song.
Okay, cool. Let's
start
do it.
Finish. Yeah. I love that idea. All right. Well, Trent, again, thank you so much for coming. I really, really appreciate it. And we got one person watching right now, and whoever watches this show afterwards, I really, really hope that you started from the beginning and you made it all the way through to the end. If you happen to skip some, trust me, go back and watch it from the beginning all the way to the end. It's definitely worth it. And I will definitely advertise well in advance to let you guys know when Trent comes back to do the more in-depth production of how all this stuff works. And you guys be sure to let me know, comment if there's some part of the music industry, person or job that you want me to showcase. And I will do my best to try to get that person. I probably can't get, don't tell me, oh, I want Luke Bryan on. That's not going to happen. Okay. So I don't have that power.
What, you don't know him?
No, not yet. No, not yet. But if y'all want to hear from a publicist or a producer, one that does it, and nothing at all against Trent, but one that does it full time, but that's all they do. A photographer, a videographer, what I'm trying to get out. So basically anything in the music industry, I can probably find someone that does whatever that is. So if y'all have a certain interest, let me know, comment, send me a DM, and we'll see what we can do. But we are definitely going to have Trent back on. And until tomorrow, I'll be back with another interview tomorrow night. Oh, I am super going to love tomorrow night. Let me tell you guys real quick. I just have to do this. I know that y'all have seen, some of you have, in pictures, the tattoo that I have on my leg. Yes, even though I have blonde hair, I am Native American. I am part Native American, not full-blooded, obviously. But my mother is. I am proudly a Lumbee Indian. Tomorrow, I am going to have on, he's probably in my family and we don't even know it. Our families come from the same town, and he is chasing his country music dream, getting ready to move to Nashville, or I don't know. He's been to Nashville. Anyway, we'll hear all the story tomorrow. So anyway, this is just going to be great fun tomorrow having him on. So y'all be sure to tune in tomorrow night, 7:00 for that. Until then, y'all have a good night. Thank you for tuning in. Trent, thank you for being here. And
yeah, of course,
we will see you guys later. Trent, hang on just a second. Stay with me.
Yep.
Y'all have a good night. Bye.